Warning: this video may not be as in-depth as you may think it is. This video is based on my experiences and opinions, with a little bit of research sprinkled in between. Need for Speed has to be up there in the top 10 gaming franchises in my list, and always played a part throughout my entire life, all the way back since the very first Need for Speed game I've ever played, Need for Speed 2 SE to Most Wanted on our first PS2, to Most Wanted on our PS3, and quite recently, Payback on the PS4. I would never forget the emotions that would fill up in my 12-year-old's mind whenever we would walk past a game store that was advertising any of the Need for Speed games. In 2011, I got my PSP. I often wondered if there was a title on the PSP, because whenever we went out, I never found any. Towards the end of 2012, I was looking for a memory card because my PSP never came with one. So was searching every single electronic and toy store, but to no avail. Until one day in Toys R Us, I found a copy of Need for Speed Shift on the PSP. I immediately forgot that I needed a memory card and instantly purchased the game, which in part 2, I will discuss how much of a mistake that really was. I often wondered if we would have a home console version of Need for Speed on PSP. I mean, take a look at Test Drive Unlimited. Sure, it's massively taken a hit in the frame rate by locking it at 15 frames per second due to hardware limitations, as well as the textures don't look very good in today's standards, but it's still quite impressive to see that it runs in the first place. It's the full experience. So, it is possible for the PSP to handle the home console versions of Need for Speed, right? Right? Throughout the PSP's lifecycle, there have been 6 games that were released, and I've recently played them, and I must tell you, I have a somewhat mixed opinion on them. Let's talk about it, shall we? Let's start off in order with Need for Speed Underground Rivals. I will talk briefly on each game. I'm not going to go in depth on each game. I'm just telling you what I think about each game after playing them. This is the first Need for Speed game to release on the PSP, and to be quite honest, comparing it to the home console versions, it's not that bad. It's the closest we got to a portable Underground game. It has everything that Underground 1 had, like drag racing, special drift mode, including the return of Street X from Underground 2, and a lot of the cars from the games, which now include muscle cars, which wasn't in Underground 1. The way the cars handle and bounce around after a small jump and decides to fly to the moon after an accident with traffic, as frustrating as that is, it is exactly the same as Underground 1, which is kind of expected since we are talking about an Underground game. I don't have anything negative to say about this game because it can be regarded as a good sequel to the first game and lives up to the original. From sound effects from both the Underground 1 demo and the final release, as well as the sound of the vehicles and customizations. And the soundtracks just scream nostalgia. So what do I dislike? Well, there isn't much to hate. It's a perfect recreation of everything in Underground 1 with its own original take, and that is a good thing. But I do hate those sound effects when you overtake or get overtaken by an opponent, as well as the sound it makes when you finish a race. It kind of becomes irritating. I highly suggest you pick up a copy of this game if you want to experience what might probably be the closest we get sequel to both Underground 1 and 2. If you love the atmosphere that both Underground games provide, I highly suggest you give this game a try. The drag races and drift races, quite fun if I say so myself. Now we move on to Need for Speed Most Wanted 510. Oh boy, what a disappointment. I never really liked it and I still don't. When my friend lent me this copy, my expectations were high until I put it into my PSP and played it. First off, what is this? The blacklist is all wrong. I mean, why on earth does Ronnie have an M3 GTR? And why is the livery on Raze's M3 GTR based on the Raze version of it? And why does Ronnie have, of all people, have the hero livery that we all love when we mention Need for Speed Most Wanted? Majority of the blacklist member cars are not the same as the home console versions and the PC versions of Most Wanted, Most upsetting, Baron, Carl Schmidt Baron, has a Mustang. A fucking Mustang. Not a Porsche Cayman S. Oh, here's the kicker. It's not just any Mustang GT. No, it's Razor's Mustang GT. What? That Porsche was everything to us. When we got the pink slip to Baron's Porsche, we completed almost the entire story with that car because it was quick and fun to drive. There are some okay choices when it comes to changing which cars belong to which member, but why on earth was it a good idea to give Webster a Gallardo when he has a monstrous Corvette C6 in the original game? Vic has a Cobalt SS. Why? What a downgrade in my opinion. The police in this game are literally made out of concrete. I mean, I don't understand. I understand you couldn't make the collision with police the same dramatic spectacle like in the home console versions due to limitations, but the police cars are immovable. The moment you hit the cops, your car stops no matter how fast you were driving. Let's not forget these pointless roadblocks. I mean, they're not blocking anything. The driving in the game is quite alright. It's way different than the Most Wanted in the PS2. The moment you try and turn a vehicle, these cars feel heavy. But the moment you reach top speed, the car feels like a missile. Which I like to say, I kind of enjoy it. But that's all I like about the driving in the game. I wish it were much different. But eventually they did use the same handling for the rest of the Need for Speed games released on the PSP. Besides Need for Speed Shift. We'll talk about that later. The car list is similar to that to the home console version, with a few missing cars like the Toyota Supra, the Lexus IS300 and the Dodge Viper SRT10, which kinda makes sense as to why some of the Black List members have different vehicles, but that doesn't justify the developers botching the selection for certain members. What do I like about it? I guess the music is kinda cool, with the return of Nine Doe and I Am Rock. Other than that, I never liked this game. I had a lot of things that I didn't agree with. I know you guys may have some fond memories with it and love this game dearly. Let me know in the comments. The next game manages to fix all these issues and added more to it. Need for Speed Carbon Own the City. This game is quite literally the best Need for Speed game on the PSP by far. Sure, it still uses that same annoying engine that 510 had, but the entire experience of the game is 10 times better. First off, unlike 510, this game has its own unique story and keeps it separate from the home console versions. I'm not going to go in depth to the stories. You can check one of these videos out for that. The map is also based on the Most Wanted map. Based on the Most Wanted map from the PS2 and PC releases. This game also retains the crew feature from Carbon and PS2 on Carbon on the PS2 and PC, but with the added difference being that you can actually have 2 crew members while on a race. There are a lot of crews, but there's also a crew with a familiar name, East Riders. The crew mechanics are the same as the home console versions in Carbon, which makes the game easier for the first time players. Oh, did I forget to mention that this is the only Need for Speed game on the PSP to have free roam. Yep, you can drive anywhere you want to in the game. I mean, of course, you have to progress through the story to unlock the rest of the map, but I'll take it. I mean, I'll take anything better than a 510. The game does lack a drift mode, but added a new mode which is called Package Deliveries, which is basically a sprint race, but you have to follow an arrow pointing you towards the destination. It's quite literally a sprint race without barriers. The police are much more balanced compared to 510 and aren't made of concrete, as each cop car has a damage meter, so you can do what we always do on the PC and absolutely batter them coppers. Anyway, the car collection isn't bad either. 3 new cars are added, like the Pontiac Firebird, the 1967 Ford Mustang, and the Pontiac Solstice. Toyota returned in this game with both the Supra and the MR2, which is nice. What I don't like about the game is that it's really easy to get your hands on the Evo 9, which can be used as a starter vehicle, which baffles me honestly. And that's the only thing that I hate. That's one major thing that I hate about it. It's the progression. I mean, I wouldn't mind starting with a 240SX, but Evo 9? Seriously? Do you want me to finish the game within an hour? The music is the same as in Carbon, but when you engage in pursuit with cops, the music that plays is from Most Wanted. I absolutely hate the sound effects whenever you win a race and when you're browsing through the menus. It just makes the game feel cheap, in my opinion. I know I didn't speak much about Carbon on the City, but honestly, I haven't played it in a long time. I mean, the last time I played it was all the way back in 2015 when I was in 9th grade. And this is what I remember from it. It was a brilliant game, but I still wish this games had the quality that was in the home console versions. Like Midnight Club 3 Dub Edition. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for your time. Till we meet again. See you guys in part 2.